The Victoria West Upper Harbour, in between the Johnson Street Bridge and the Selkirk Trestle, has a deep history and has gone through a number of changes from the presence of an Aboriginal settlement to an industrialized stretch of land to the present-day livable community. The Songhees First Nations people resided in this area, what is now James Bay, Victoria West, and the downtown harbour up until 1911. They favored this area due to the ability to fish and hunt. This was the Songhees' home for many years, including early colonization of Victoria in the late 1700s. By 1884, many parts of Victoria and Esquimalt were developed and divided into plots of land. However, the Songhees' land remained a recognized Indian reserve. Maps from this time showed an Indian village along with Indian graves. In 1911, the provincial and federal government purchased the Songhees' land and they were relocated to northwestern Esquimalt. This allowed for development and industrialization of the harbor to take off. In the 1960s, there was the presence of the BC Forest Products Sawmill and the forest industry was rampant. Numerous roads were being built and log booms were being stored in the harbor.
By the 1980s, industry along the Victoria West Upper Harbour began to drastically decline. It was described as a rust belt of the region because of the large number of derelict sites. However, the land between the Johnson Street Bridge and Bay Street Bridge is still zoned in the official community plan of Victoria as marine industrial. A new commercial and residential development, Dockside Green, is currently being completed in 3 phases on a former brownfield site. The city estimated cost to have the land adhere to environmental standards to be roughly $12 million. This is largely a result of not only years of pollution, including spilled petrochemicals and toxic heavy metal, but the fact that 1/3 of the land is actually landfill made up of garbage and hazardous materials from former factories. Dockside Green is a mixed-use community that has attained the highest level of certification, known as Platinum level, in the LEED rating system. LEED stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. Specifically, the use of solar power technologies, wind turbines, on-site wastewater treatment plant, and green roofs are used to reduce Dockside Green's environmental footprint. Further up along the shore, in between the Bay Street Bridge and Selkirk Trestle, is another development called the Rail Yards. This is an affordable and family-oriented development made up of rows of townhouses. It is located next to the Galloping Goose Trail and further increases the densification of the area. There are former industry sites located adjacent to both Dockside Green and the rail yards that will be developed in the next 5 to 10 years. This area is continually growing and changing into a place where one can live, work, and play.
The two main issues that pollute the waters and shoreline are the high levels of pollutants like cadmium, mercury, zinc, and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, otherwise known as PAHs. These elements not only affect the wildlife, but can be hazardous to humans. As well, wood debris accumulating on the sea floor, burying organisms, and releasing hazardous sulfides during decomposition. These issues are both a product of the past and the present. In fact, the area has become so polluted that the Victoria and Esquimalt Harbours Environmental Action Program engaged in a project known as the Harbours Ecological Inventory and Rating Project. A portion of the study rated the ecological value of harbour areas. This area received a very low, the worst grade available. That being said, numerous positive initiatives have been put forth in order to combat these issues. Examples from the private sector include the current sedimentation pond by the Dockside Green development that prevents pollutants from entering the harbour. As well, government agencies like Transport Canada spent over $4 million between 2004 and 2006 cleaning up the harbour in order to meet environmental standards. Currently, there are many private companies, governmental organizations from all levels, NGOs, academics, and concerned citizens that make the process of environmental protection between the Johnson Street Bridge and Selkirk Trestle very complex. For example, Transport Canada, a federal organization, is in charge of all maritime industry matters. The Greater Victoria Harbour Authority owns Ogden Point and many other waterfront properties. The Provincial Capital Commission owns the Lower Causeway by the Empress Hotel and the Belleville Terminal. All zoning issues are dealt with by the City of Victoria, but if they deal with water, they must get provincial and federal approval. This area is shared with everyone and is not under the ownership or direction of any one person or group. It is a mixed-use development that must have all groups coexist. There must be a consensus made as to the goals of this area for all groups to adapt to and be resilient of the vulnerabilities of climate change and environmental degradation. Government grants and increased regulation that equally affects all parties would be the most productive way to preserve and protect the harbor for future generations. Pertaining to the issue of sea level rise, crane regulation now that does not permit development directly along the shoreline can not only protect the current environment, but as well us from future catastrophes. Lastly, grants from the municipal, provincial, and federal level promoting energy efficiency, nature conservation, and community development will have all parties on equal terms and help progress the change that is needed to keep the Victoria West Upper Harbour a sustainable and vibrant area.